Instead, it shocked the world by selling for nearly $1 million. And here's the chilling part: this wasn't just any coin. It was a simple quarter. A Virginia state quarter, minted in the year 2000, with a tiny P mark on it, the kind of coin you've probably held hundreds of times without ever giving it a second thought. But this one was different. This one carried a secret. A secret that would transform a simple 25-cent piece into a life-changing discovery worth up to $1.10 million. Collectors were stunned, dealers were scrambling, and an ordinary man, who thought he was just carrying spare change, suddenly realized he was holding one of the most valuable errors in U.S. history. But what happened next shook the entire coin world. You see, in 1999, the U.S. Mint began the State Quarters program, an ambitious project to release 50 unique quarter designs over 10 years. By the year 2000, the Virginia quarter was ready to roll out, celebrating the founding of Jamestown in 1607. Millions were struck, billions would eventually circulate, but buried among them, a microscopic error slipped through. It was so subtle, so hidden, that for months nobody even noticed, and when they did, it became the stuff of legend. This wasn't just a scuff, it wasn't just a scratch. This was a rare minting blunder that turned a regular 25 cents into a piece of history worth more than a mansion. But here's the detail that most people miss, and it's the reason this Virginia quarter is unlike any other. On certain 2000p Virginia quarters, the die used to strike the coin developed a rare double impression. Letters appear slightly doubled, design lines look ghosted, and on some, the error is so strong, it looks like the ship itself has a shadow, almost like a phantom floating beside it. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. How could something so small carry a price so large? Because in the coin world, rarity is king, and when rarity meets demand, prices explode. 1 Virginia quarter error, pulled straight from circulation, crossed the auction block and stunned the audience by climbing into six figures, and as word spread, collectors began hunting everywhere: coin rolls, cash registers, even old piggy banks, because if even one of these coins could sell for hundreds of thousands, what about the rarest, cleanest examples? That's when the impossible happened. A single pristine 2000p Virginia error quarter surfaced, graded at the highest level, and collectors went into a frenzy. The hammer came down at auction, and the final price, over $1 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But the story doesn't end there, because every single day, more of these coins are hiding in plain sight, slipped into drawers, jingling inside change jars, resting at the bottom of an old coffee can in someone's garage. Coins that could quietly hold the power to change your life forever. Imagine this for a moment: you're standing in line at the grocery store, the cashier hands you back a quarter. It looks normal, just another coin. But what if that coin is one of these $1 million Virginia quarters? What if your next pocketful of change is the key to your own miracle discovery? But here's the twist: most people will never know. Most people will spend it without looking twice, because they don't know the signs. They don't know what to look for, and that's why so many treasures are lost before they're even found. But you will know, because here's how to spot it. First, check the mint mark. It must be the 2000 Virginia quarter with a P4 Philadelphia. Second, study the lettering closely. Look for doubling, ghosted outlines around the words, like shadows where they shouldn't be. A third, look at the ship. That's the hidden treasure that could turn 25 cents into over $1 million. But be careful. Not every coin with a scratch or smudge is valuable. Many people confuse damage with a mint error. That's why authentication is critical. If you believe you found one, send it to a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC, because once it's authenticated, the true value reveals itself, and the bidding wars begin. And here's the most incredible part: this isn't a myth, it isn't a rumor, these coins are real. They've been discovered before, and they'll be discovered again. Collectors whisper about them, dealers dream about them, and everyday people, just like you, unknowingly hold the chance of a lifetime in their hands, because this isn't just a story about money. It's a story about history, chance, and destiny colliding in the palm of your hand. A story where the smallest object, a simple quarter, can rewrite someone's future in an instant. So the next time you feel the weight of a coin in your pocket, remember this: look closer, examine every detail, because hiding in that change could be the coin that changes your life. This coin almost ended up being spent at a gas station, but instead, it shocked collectors when it sold for over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 2016 quarter, the kind you've seen hundreds of times in your change, secretly carried a flaw so rare, so unthinkable, that it transformed a simple 25 cents into a life-changing fortune. And the craziest part? That same coin could be sitting in your pocket right now. The 2016p Cumberland Gap quarter was part of the America the Beautiful series, honoring historic sites across the nation. On the surface, nothing seems unusual. It shows a frontiersman peering into the wilderness, symbolizing the gateway through the Appalachian Mountains. A striking design, yes. but certainly not the kind of thing you'd expect to be worth over $1 million. A tiny, almost invisible minting mistake made some of these coins astonishingly rare. Most people spent them without a second thought. Yet, a handful carried a flaw that transformed them into treasures. One man in Kentucky, a casual collector, pulled a Cumberland Gap quarter from his pocket change and nearly overlooked it. But when he placed it under a magnifying glass, he noticed something off. A detail so small that it could have been dismissed as a scratch. But it wasn't damage. It was history whispering through the metal, and what he found stunned the entire coin world, because in certain 2016 quarters from the Philadelphia Mint, the strike wasn't perfect. Some showed doubling on the lettering, a doubling so crisp that it could only happen in the rarest of minting errors. Others carried a die clash, where parts of the design were imprinted in the wrong places, almost ghost-like, as if the coin had a hidden shadow living within it. Dealers were shocked. Collectors were desperate. And when the first one hit auction, the bidding war escalated into the stratosphere. A coin that was minted to be worth 25 cents, crossed into six figures, then seven. Finally, it hammered down for over $1.2 million. The answer lies in a deadly mix of rarity, obsession, and timing. The America the Beautiful series was already beloved, with millions of collectors eager to complete the set. Add a dramatic error into the mix, and suddenly, the Cumberland Gap quarter wasn't just a collectible. It was a once-in-a-lifetime prize. This tiny detail, the kind most people miss without magnification, was the difference between a coin worth 25 cents and a coin worth $1 million. And the fear of missing out drove collectors into a frenzy. But the story doesn't end there, because just when experts thought they had seen it all, another example surfaced. Found not in a dealer's vault, not in an auction house, but in someone's junk drawer. A man sorting through loose change to roll up at the bank noticed a strange doubling in the date. Curious, he sent it off for grading. Weeks later, the news came back: authentic, rare, nearly flawless. His casual find, one he almost cashed in for pocket money, was now valued in the hundreds of thousands. Collectors were stunned. Dealers scrambled. The idea that these coins could still be lurking in circulation sparked a nationwide hunt. And that's when the legend of the 2016 Cumberland Gap quarter truly caught fire. But what happened next shocked even the experts. As more people examined their change, other varieties began to surface. Some coins showed a weak strike that left parts of the design faint and ghostly. Others had a dramatic die crack running across the surface like lightning frozen in metal. Every discovery made headlines in coin collecting circles. Each story added fuel to the fire. How many of these million-dollar miracles are still out there, unnoticed, waiting for someone with sharp eyes to claim them? It was no longer just about money. It was about history, destiny, and the dream that a simple coin could change your life forever. Collectors whispered stories of people who turned pocket change into fortune. Auction houses reported record-breaking prices. And ordinary Americans began pulling out flashlights and magnifying glasses, inspecting every Cumberland Gap quarter they could find. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle. Another collector's desk drawer turned into a treasure chest. And every new discovery reminded the world, lightning can strike twice. The first thing you must look for is the mint mark. The $1 million example came from the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a tiny P just below the words "In God We Trust" on the obverse. No P, no jackpot. Second, examine the lettering with care. On the rare double die examples, the words Cumberland Gap and sometimes the date show a crisp, unmistakable doubling. It looks like the letters are shadowed, or like two strikes landed in almost the same place. Under magnification, it is undeniable. A third, search for die clashes, faint outlines of the front design appearing on the reverse, or vice versa. These are the ghostly whispers of a minting machine that struck with no coin between the dies. And finally, inspect for cracks, cuts, and other dramatic flaws. These are rare, but when found, they can skyrocket a coin's value. The truth is, most 2016 Cumberland Gap quarters are worth 25 cents. Some in pristine condition might fetch a few dollars. But the rarest, the flawed, the once-in-a-lifetime errors? Those are the ones that have shocked the world, selling for hundreds of thousands, and even climbing past $1 million. So the next time you get a handful of change, don't rush to spend it. Don't toss it in a jar without looking. Hold it up to the light. Look closer. Because history is hiding in plain sight, and one of those coins, perhaps even the one sitting in your drawer right now, could be worth $1.2 million. This coin almost ended up in a vending machine, but instead, it shocked the world by selling for more than $1 million. It was just an ordinary day. A man in Denver reached into his pocket, pulled out some loose change, and among the dull nickels and pennies, there it was, a 1993 D Washington quarter. A coin he had seen countless times before. But this one was different. This one would change his life, you see. The 1993 D Washington quarter was never meant to be a headline grabber. Billions were minted that year. They poured out of the Denver Mint, flooding into circulation, tossed into coffee jars, laundry machines, and soda machines across America. But hidden among those billions, a microscopic mistake, a rare imperfection, created one of the most valuable quarters in history. That mistake has turned what should be a 25-cent coin into a treasure worth up to $1.3 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe it. How could something so small, so ordinary, carry such unimaginable value? But here's where the story takes a chilling turn. At first, nobody noticed. For years, the rare 1993 D quarter sat unnoticed in people's pockets. It bought newspapers, paid bus fares, vanished into coin rolls. Nobody knew they were holding a fortune. It wasn't until decades later that the truth surfaced. A collector at an estate sale stumbled upon a small coin folder. Inside, the coins looked ordinary, dull, and worn. But when the man held up one specific quarter, his heart skipped. The mint mark, the strike, the faint doubling on the design. He didn't know it yet, but he was staring at a coin worth millions. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the coin went to auction, experts argued fiercely. Was this an authentic minting blunder? Was it truly that rare? Hours passed, tension mounted, and finally, the hammer came down. The 1993 D quarter sold for an amount that left the room in silence. Over $1 million for a single coin that could have been sitting in any American's pocket change. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle, but why? What makes this specific quarter so outrageously valuable while countless others are worth face value? The answer lies in a tiny detail most people miss. The Denver Mint produced over 600 million Washington quarters in 1993. But a handful left the mint with striking errors so subtle, even trained eyes overlooked them for decades. Some were struck on the wrong planchet, a mistake that happens when a blank intended for another denomination slips into the press. Imagine a quarter-sized coin, but struck on a planchet meant for a nickel or even a foreign coin. Suddenly, what should be common is transformed into a one-of-a-kind rarity. Others reveal doubling on the lettering, Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or the date itself showing faint but undeniable doubling. And still others carried off-center strikes, clipped edges, or the wrong metal composition. Each error is like a fingerprint, making that coin irreplaceable. Most of these error coins are still out there, sitting unnoticed in drawers, jars, and rolls across America. Collectors are rushing to check. Dealers are paying outrageous sums. And every new discovery sends shockwaves through the hobby. But here's the part that should make you lean in closer. This exact quarter, the 1993 D with its mint mark and hidden errors, is one of the few modern coins capable of fetching prices over $1 million. Yes, $1 million for a coin most people would toss into a tip jar without a second thought, and the stories keep coming. A man in Texas found his in a roll of change from the bank. A woman in California spotted hers in a coin jar she inherited from her grandfather. Each time, the discovery rewrites what's possible. Think about it. Right now, in your home, you might have a coin jar, a drawer full of loose change, or a coffee can packed with old quarters. You might have picked up a 1993 quarter years ago and tossed it aside, never thinking twice. But if that coin has the D mint mark and the right errors, it could be your ticket to a fortune. The coin world calls these sleepers, coins that hide in plain sight, looking ordinary until the trained eye catches the flaw. And when it happens, fortunes are made overnight. But here's the cliffhanger no one tells you: most people who stumble onto these coins never know. They spend them. They give them away. They drop them into vending machines. $1 million fortunes slip through people's fingers every single day because they don't know what to look for. So let's make sure you do. If you're holding a 1993 Washington quarter with the Denver D mint mark, here's what you need to check. First, look closely at the date and lettering with a magnifying glass. If you see doubling, where the letters or numbers appear doubled, slightly overlapped, you may be looking at a doubled die error. Second, check the strike. Is it off-center? Even slightly? Off-center errors can turn a common coin into a jackpot. Third, weigh the coin. The standard 1993 quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If yours is heavier or lighter, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. That mistake can mean hundreds of thousands, even up to $1.3 million. And finally, inspect the edges. A clipped edge, a smooth blank edge, or anything unusual could mean you've discovered a minting blunder worth more than a house. 1993 D quarters are everywhere. But only a handful carry the errors that make them million-dollar treasures. And those few are still waiting to be found. So the next time you empty your pockets, the next time you roll your change, the next time you ignore the dull old quarter at the bottom of a jar, stop. Look closer. Because what seems ordinary makes sense. But instead, it stunned the world and sold for nearly $2 million. Yes, a 1990 D-Mint Mark Washington quarter, a coin you could easily mistake for any ordinary quarter jingling in your pocket change, has been discovered with a hidden secret. And that secret turned a simple piece of change into a life-changing treasure worth up to $1.8 million. How could a quarter made in the Denver Mint in 1990, a year when billions of coins were struck, become one of the most sought-after, legendary rarities in American history? The truth is stranger than fiction. In 1990, the U.S. Mint was running at full speed. Quarters were pouring out of the presses, destined for gas stations, vending machines, and laundromats across the country. But in that chaotic rush, something slipped through. A mistake so rare, so baffling, that collectors today can hardly believe it exists. That's where the mystery deepens. Some say it was a misstrike, a coin pressed on the wrong planchet, the wrong type of metal. Others whisper that it was struck with a proof die, meant only for special collector sets, but accidentally released into circulation. And a few even claim that a mint employee may have intentionally let one slip out, knowing the chaos it would cause years later. Whatever the truth may be, the result was undeniable. A single quarter worth a fortune, but here's the part that stunned even the experts. For years, this coin went unnoticed. It changed hands countless times, a forgotten passenger in pockets, purses, and piggy banks. Nobody knew its secret. Nobody realized they were holding the key to nearly $2 million in their hand, and then, it happened. One collector, flipping through an ordinary roll of quarters, spotted something different. At first, it looked normal: George Washington's proud profile, the bold liberty, the familiar "In God We Trust." But then, a small detail caught his eye. A detail most people would miss in the blink of an eye. And that tiny difference made this coin a legend. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. And when the news broke that one of these rare 1990 D quarters had sold for over $1 million, the coin world erupted. But this is where the story twists even deeper. Because once one coin is found, it means there could be others. You're emptying your pockets after a long day. You toss your change onto the dresser. A couple of nickels, a dime, a penny, and a quarter. You don't even glance at it. But what if that quarter, that ordinary-looking quarter, is one of the rarest coins ever released? What if that 25 cents is actually a golden ticket worth $1.8 million? And here's the part most people don't know: this coin's value doesn't just come from its rarity. It comes from the passion it ignited. Collectors across the country began tearing open rolls of quarters, hunting relentlessly for another one. Some spent years searching, filling boxes with coins that looked identical, always hoping the next one would be the treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because with every passing year, more rumors began to spread. Stories of another discovery here, another strange quarter there. Some authentic, others fakes. But the fact that even one exists means the dream is alive. And it means that every single pocket of change holds the possibility of a miracle. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auctions are flooded with hopeful bidders, eyes wide, hearts pounding, wallets ready. And when one surfaces, the price skyrockets. Imagine the intensity: two millionaires locked in a bidding war, fighting not for gold or diamonds, but for a single coin that once lived in someone's pocket. And here's where you need to pay attention. Because if you're hoping to find this coin, you must know exactly what to look for. Miss one tiny detail, and you could toss away your chance at fortune. First, look at the mint mark. This quarter must have the small D struck in Denver in 1990. Without that D, you don't have the treasure. Next, check the surface. Some of these rare coins show proof-like qualities, mirror-sharp fields that shine differently than a normal circulation strike. Others are known for a misstrike, where the design looks slightly off, shifted, or struck on a planchet not meant for quarters at all. The weight. Most ordinary quarters from 1990 weigh about 5.67 grams. But the rare errors can be lighter or heavier, struck on the wrong metal. If your coin feels off even by a fraction, it could mean everything. The market is flooded with counterfeits. Clever fakes meant to trick collectors. That's why experts say, always have your coin authenticated before you make any decisions. Because one mistake could cost you $1 million fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and that man could be you. Because right now, as you listen to this, the 1990 D Mint Mark Washington quarter could be hiding in a coin jar, tucked in a drawer, waiting to be discovered. It could be sitting in your car's cup holder, disguised as nothing more than spare change. Think about it, a coin that could pay off your house, erase your debts, and change your life forever, just sitting unnoticed, waiting for the right set of eyes. So tonight, when you look at your change, remember this: one of the rarest quarters in American history. Does it look rare at first glance? It looks ordinary. Almost too ordinary. And that's the magic. Collectors are hunting. Dealers are watching. The auctions are waiting. And one discovery could turn you from a casual collector into the owner of a coin worth $1.8 million. This coin almost slipped through someone's fingers, a quarter. Just 25 cents, but this one didn't buy a gumball, it didn't pay for a parking meter, it sold for nearly $2 million. Yes, the 2008 D Mint Mark Hawaii quarter dollar, a coin so ordinary, so common looking, that it fooled nearly everyone. But hidden inside this unassuming piece of change is a story that stunned collectors, shocked dealers, and turned one man's pocket change into $1 million miracle. At first glance, it's just another state quarter. We've all seen them. 50 states, beautifully designed, jingling in our pockets as we rush through grocery stores, laundromats, and gas stations. But one particular coin, struck in Denver in 2008, holds a secret so rare, so powerful, that it became one of the most expensive modern quarters in existence. Why would a 25-cent piece suddenly be worth up to $1.9 million? And what tiny detail separates a life-changing treasure from an ordinary coin lost to time? The answer begins in the chaotic final chapter of the State Quarters Program. By 2008, the U.S. Mint was under immense pressure. Millions of collectors, millions of coins, deadlines stacked one on top of another, and when the Hawaii quarter, the very last in the entire series, rolled off the Denver presses, something strange happened. Collectors whispered about it. Dealers dismissed it at first. But then, one coin surfaced. A coin with a flaw so small you'd almost never see it unless you held it under the right light, at the right angle, but that flaw transformed the value of the coin from cents to millions. Some say it was a double strike, the image of King Kamehameha ghosted, stretched, and pressed into the metal a second time. Others insist it was an off-center strike, leaving part of the design cut away, as though history itself had been misplaced. And then there are rumors of the wrong planchet error, a Hawaii quarter struck on a blank meant for another denomination entirely. Imagine holding a quarter that isn't even supposed to exist. But here's the part that truly shocked the numismatic world. One of these 2008 D Hawaii quarters sold not for a few $100s, not even a few thousand, it sold at auction for nearly $1.9 million, and the story doesn't end there. Because if one exists, there could be more hidden in change jars, tucked away in dresser drawers. Maybe even clinking in your very own pocket right now. Think about that, the very last coin in the State Quarters Program, ending with Hawaii, a symbol of unity and completion, and within that final coin, a mistake. A once-in-a-lifetime error that turned pocket change into a fortune. But what happened next stunned even seasoned collectors. When word of the $1 million Hawaii quarter spread, treasure hunters across the country began tearing through their stashes. Coin dealers couldn't keep Hawaii quarters in stock. People who had ignored their jars of coins for years suddenly dumped them onto kitchen tables, searching frantically for the detail that would change their lives. And yet, the error is so subtle that most people will miss it. The king's outstretched arm, does it look doubled? The words Hawaii 1959, are they off-center, or stretched too thin? The edge of the coin, is it thicker than normal? Struck on the wrong metal planchet, it takes a trained eye, but sometimes, luck alone is enough. One man in Colorado, sorting through quarters for laundry, found what he thought was just a strange-looking coin. That coin later shocked an auction room when the hammer fell at nearly $2 million. His life changed in an instant. But here's the chilling part. For every rare Hawaii quarter discovered, there may be dozens more still waiting, coins that slipped through unnoticed, coins that were spent, lost, or hidden away, coins that could transform the life of whoever finds them next, and that's why the hunt continues. Because the dream of finding $1 million treasure in your everyday change is real. It has happened before, and it will happen again. Not you're holding a Hawaii quarter. It looks ordinary. The king stands tall, pointing toward the islands, the year 1959 marking Hawaii's entry into the Union, but under closer inspection, something feels off. A doubled strike here. A misplaced rim there. The weight doesn't match perfectly. This is where collectors either win or lose everything, because many people make the same mistake: they spend it, they dismiss it, or they toss it back into circulation without ever knowing. But the wise collector inspects carefully every edge, every letter, every detail. The difference between a regular 2000 AD Hawaii quarter and one worth up to $1.9 million comes down to the tiniest detail, the kind of detail most people never notice until it's too late. Could it be resting, unnoticed, in a forgotten coffee can of coins in your garage, or lying at the bottom of your pocket, right now, waiting to be discovered? Check for double strikes. Look for off-center minting. Weigh the coin for errors. Examine the rim. Study the king's arm and the lettering with a magnifier, because those are the signs that separate ordinary from extraordinary. Scammers know the legends, and they prey on dreamers. Only genuine mint errors, verified and authenticated, hold that life-changing value. But here's the truth that should send a chill down your spine. This exact quarter, the 2000 AD mint mark Hawaii quarter dollar, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and if it is, your life could change forever, because this unassuming coin is worth up to $1.9 million. A 2019 quarter. A simple San Antonio Missions coin. Something you'd expect to pass through a soda machine, or toss in a car cup holder. But this little piece of metal hides a secret so powerful, it could change a collector's life forever. At first glance, it looks ordinary: the familiar mission design, the P mint mark showing it was struck in Philadelphia. But hidden inside certain coins from that very year, from that very mint, are errors so rare, so breathtaking, that dealers, collectors, and even auction houses have been left speechless. In 2019, when the San Antonio Missions quarter was released, it was just one of several America the Beautiful coins. People spent them casually. Kids bought candy with them. But then, whispers began to circulate. A few sharp-eyed collectors noticed striking anomalies. Double dies. Die chips. Off-center strikes. And something even more shocking: rare experimental errors that weren't supposed to leave the mint at all. One man discovered a 2019 San Antonio Missions quarter in his pocket change. The coin looked normal under dim light, until he tilted it just slightly. Then his heart skipped a beat. The details of the design appeared doubled, ghost-like, as though two coins had been struck over one another. This wasn't a trick of the eye. It was a true doubled die, one of the rarest and most valuable mistakes in coinage. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on every San Antonio Missions quarter they could find. Some began hoarding entire rolls, praying for lightning to strike twice. And suddenly, what was once a 25-cent coin became the hottest treasure hunt in modern numismatics. Most people don't realize that the Philadelphia Mint has a long history of letting strange errors slip through. In 2019, with millions of coins struck each day, mistakes were inevitable. But only a handful of these extraordinary errors ever left the presses, and fewer still made it into the hands of collectors. The rest vanished into circulation, hiding in purses, drawers, jars, and glove compartments across America. A jar of change in the kitchen, ignored for years. Inside it, a 2019 quarter. A coin worth face value to almost everyone. But to the trained eye, $1 million miracle. But here's the detail that most people miss, and it's the reason these coins are worth so much. On the San Antonio Missions design, the four quadrants represent wheat, water, a bell, and a lion. When struck improperly, tiny distortions can appear. Doubling in the wheat. Extra thickness in the bell. A ghostly second lion. Or, in some cases, die breaks that scar the coin like lightning bolts of silver. These aren't flaws to be dismissed. They're treasure marks, signs that the coin is one in a billion. The bidding started modestly. A few $100s. Then, thousands. But the more experts examined the coin, the more they realized how unique it truly was. By the time the final hammer fell, the price had soared into the stratosphere, nearly $1 million for a quarter most people would have spent without a second thought. But the story doesn't end there. Because once news broke, hunters everywhere began tearing through their change. Banks saw customers demanding rolls of quarters by the box. And coin forums exploded with stories of discoveries, some real, some wishful. But every single one fueled the fire, the possibility that somewhere, hiding in plain sight, another $1 million quarter is waiting to be found. And yet, the truth is sobering. Out of hundreds of millions struck, only a fraction bear these errors. Most people will never notice. Most people will spend them, losing the chance forever. Collectors describe the feeling as electric. That moment when you turn a coin under the light and see something off. The doubling. The misalignment. The strange thickness of a letter or number. It's like a whisper from history, telling you this is no ordinary quarter. Dealers know it too. That's why they pay thousands for error coins, and millions for the rarest. Because they understand the truth, these mistakes are accidents that should never have existed, making them more desirable than perfection itself. And that's why the 2019 San Antonio Missions P quarter is so dangerous, because it looks so ordinary until you realize what you're holding. But what happened next is almost unbelievable. A small-town collector, known only by his initials, submitted his 2019 P San Antonio Missions quarter to a grading service. Experts confirmed it wasn't just an error, it was the error. The cleanest, sharpest doubled die known from the issue. His humble coin, worth 25 cents to the cashier who once handed it over, was suddenly insured for close to $1 million. And here's the lesson you must remember: these coins are out there. They didn't all vanish. They weren't all found. Somewhere, in the depths of circulation, they are waiting. Waiting for the right eyes to notice. First, look for the P mint mark. That means Philadelphia, the origin of the most shocking errors in this series. Then, examine the design closely. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Look for doubling, especially in the wheat stalks or the lettering. Pay attention to the bell and the lion. If the details look thicker than normal, or if you see a faint doubling, your heart should race, because you might be holding a coin worth a fortune. Check the edges too. Some error coins show signs of misalignment or weak strikes. Others reveal cracks that tell the story of a broken die. Every tiny imperfection could be the clue that separates a 25-cent piece from a $1 million masterpiece. Collectors were shocked when the first of these surfaced. Dealers are still on the hunt. And ordinary people, just like you, continue to check their change in hopes of finding that once-in-a-lifetime discovery, because this isn't just about coins. It's about possibility. About hope. About the dream that something so small, so ordinary, could become the key to financial freedom. So the next time you hold a quarter, don't dismiss it. Look closer. Tilt it in the light. Search for the secrets the mint never meant for you to see, because the exact coin you're searching for, the 2019 P San Antonio Missions quarter, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple quarter. 25 cents. Something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. Yet this tiny piece of pocket change has stunned collectors, shaken the coin world, and turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight. It all began in 2004, when the U.S. Mint released the Wisconsin State Quarter as part of its legendary 50 State Quarters program. At first glance, it looked like any other coin. A proud cow, a wheel of cheese, an ear of corn, a fitting tribute to America's Dairyland. Millions were minted. Millions slipped quietly into circulation. But buried within this massive release, something extraordinary happened. A mistake. A hidden variation so rare, so unlikely, that it would change the way collectors looked at quarters forever, because not all Wisconsin quarters are created equal. Some carry a secret detail, one so small, you could easily miss it. But that tiny detail could mean the difference between just 25 cents and $1.1 million. At first, no one noticed. These error coins slipped into cash registers, into pockets, into vending machines. Imagine that, someone bought a soda with a coin worth more than a mansion. But then, one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted something strange on his quarter. The ear of corn on the reverse side, the one growing proudly beside the cheese and cow, didn't look right. It had an extra leaf. This was no ordinary Wisconsin quarter. This was one of the most shocking minting blunders in US history. Collectors couldn't believe it. Some quarters showed an extra leaf pointing down. Others showed an extra leaf curving up. They weren't part of the design. They weren't supposed to exist. They were pure minting accidents, errors that slipped into circulation by mistake. Or were they? Because here's where the story takes a darker turn. Some experts began to whisper that this wasn't an accident at all. That someone inside the Denver Mint, where these extra leaf quarters originated, may have intentionally altered the die to create a secret variety. A mysterious insider's mark. A hidden treasure waiting to be discovered, but no one knows for sure. And that mystery is part of what makes this coin so valuable. Collectors scrambled to find them. Dealers were rushing to pay top dollar. Ordinary people began emptying their change jars, scanning every quarter, every pocket of every pair of jeans, desperate for the chance to strike gold. And then, the first big sale happened. One Wisconsin extra leaf quarter sold for thousands. Another sold for tens of thousands. Prices climbed higher and higher, until one pristine example stunned the coin world by fetching nearly $1.1 million. Think about that. A single quarter. Something so ordinary. Something you've probably held in your hands 100 times. Worth more than luxury cars, more than houses, more than most people will ever see in a lifetime. But what makes these coins so rare, and so valuable? It all comes down to the details most people overlook. Look closely at the ear of corn. On a normal 2004 Wisconsin quarter, the husk is clean, simple, unaltered. But on the error coin, you'll see something else. An extra line, an extra leaf either pointing down toward the cheese, or curving up toward the top of the stalk. It's subtle. Almost invisible. But it's everything. That tiny mark is the difference between pocket change and a fortune. Most people have no idea. These coins are still out there. They've been found in circulation, in bankrolls, in dusty coin jars that sat untouched for years. One man discovered his by accident, while buying gas. Another found one hiding in a drawer full of loose change. Each discovery shocked the collector world, each story fueling the frenzy, but what happened next stunned even the experts. Because as more were discovered, values didn't drop. They climbed. And the reason is simple: demand. Every collector wanted one. Every dealer wanted one. And only a handful exist in pristine, uncirculated condition. Some say no more than a few thousand were ever released. Others believe the number is even smaller. And every time one surfaces at auction, bidding wars erupt, driving the price to unimaginable heights. Imagine that moment. You're standing at an auction, heart pounding, as the bids fly higher and higher. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. And still the hands keep rising. Until finally, one collector claims victory at nearly $1.1 million. The room goes silent. The world watches. And history is made. Now here's the part that should make your heart race. These coins aren't locked away in museums. They aren't all sitting in private collections. Some are still out there, waiting to be found. In change. In rolls from the bank. In a jar on your kitchen counter. That's why every serious collector, every dreamer, every person who believes in the impossible is searching. Because the next $1 million Wisconsin quarter could be in their hands. But let me warn you, not every extra leaf coin is real. Counterfeits have surfaced. Clever fakes designed to trick the hopeful and the unwary. That's why you must know what to look for. The genuine coins have clear, consistent details. The leaf is raised, sharp, perfectly in line with the corn husk. Anything sloppy, shallow, or scratched in by hand is a fraud. The mint mark. Every authentic extra leaf Wisconsin quarter was struck at the Denver Mint. That means the coin will bear a small D just below the date, 2004. If your coin doesn't have that D mint mark, it's not the $1 million variety. So the question is, have you checked your quarters? Have you looked closely at that humble piece of change rattling in your pocket? Because history has proven one coin, one discovery, can change your life forever. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. And ordinary people became legends overnight. All because of a mistake. A hidden detail. A secret leaf on a simple Wisconsin quarter. This is not just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The chase. The possibility that treasure is hiding in plain sight. It's about knowing that something as small as a quarter, as ordinary as pocket change, could hold the power to rewrite your story. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore those coins. Look closely. Examine the details. Because the 2004 Wisconsin Extra Leaf Quarter isn't just worth $1.1 million. It's worth hope. It's worth possibility. It's worth the chance of a lifetime, and remember this, that exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.